Okay, hello Internet. Welcome to our webinar for the Games Job Fair St. Petersburg. With us today we have, you could maybe introduce yourselves.
Yes, I'm Mia. I'm handling talent attraction here at the Finnish Game Day.
Hi, I'm Tuuli. I'm an HR coordinator at RedLynx.
Yep, and I'm Rob, and I'm leading talent over at Yousician.
My name is Oleg. Some of you met me, so I'm organizing this networking events for Finnish game developers in Russia.
Yeah, I'm Kim, so I'm working for Finnish Game Day. You'll see me in St. Pete as well. And then we have here.
Yep, hi, I'm Sahin Sengits. I'm from Red Stage Entertainment. I'm the CEO, and very nice to not see you all, but you to see us, I guess.
Yeah, thanks. You sent us a lot of questions beforehand. Thank you for those. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start off with doing some presentations from the companies, and then we'll get into the questions. And if you have any additional questions, you can use the live chat option. I guess it's going to be on this side of the screen. Yeah. So just write your questions there and we'll try to answer.
I'll get it here.
We'll try and answer as many as we can. But to get things rolling, we'll start with RedLynx and Tuuli's presentation. So just hold on a sec. There we go.
All right.
Okay.
So, hey everyone, hope everyone's doing well. I'm from RedLynx, and we currently have a couple of places open on the Finnish Game Day website. And I'll tell you a little bit more about us, but first I thought we'd start off with a short video.
Yes, we have it.
We got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before. 1, 2, 3, listen. Doing something you haven't heard before.
Okay, looks like fun times.
Definitely. That was actually from our summer party from 2017. So a lot of fun times there. So yeah, we are RedLynx. So we're actually one of the oldest gaming companies in Finland, and also one of the biggest. We currently have about 140 people from 19 different nationalities working at the studio. And we're also one of the, I'm not sure if we're the only studio currently, but one of the very few at least who have both console and mobile development under the same roof. So yeah, it's both a challenge and an opportunity. And we've had over 60 million game downloads on mobile games that we've released, latest one of which was the South Park Phone Destroyer game. So in terms of download numbers, we've conquered Italy, which is great. And we've released over 100 games for basically all major platforms over the course of over 15 years. And we are also a part of Ubisoft, and we are known mainly for the Trials console game series, also was on mobile a couple of years ago. And we closely collaborate a lot with our community, especially with the Trials franchise. So, yeah. And here you can see some of our games that we've released over the years. The ones that are in red have been released after we joined Ubisoft in 2011. So one of our the few biggest commercial successes was, of course, like Trials Evolution, which was one of the biggest selling titles on Xbox Live. And then under Ubisoft, we also have released a couple of other Trials games. And then the latest release for the mobile side was the South Park Phone Destroyer game. And the game was like completely developed in-house, but we worked very closely with the South Park studios to get all the assets and everything like that. So it was a really, really, really interesting project. And like I mentioned, we're a part of Ubisoft. So Ubisoft has, I think it might actually be over 15,000 team members already across the world, and multiple different multi-million selling franchises such as Assassin's Creed and Just Dance and so on. And also what I can tell you about the Ubisoft collaboration, like I said, we were joined to the Ubisoft family in 2011. So we're a key studio inside of Ubisoft, which means that we're working on our own titles, and we're collaborating with other studios to get our own titles released. And yeah, we get a lot of support from Ubisoft, but also a lot of autonomy. So we can pretty much make a lot of our own decisions about how we do things. And yeah. And yeah, then I'd pass the question off to the audience who want to join our tasty crew. So currently we're looking for online programmers and also lead online programmers. And then in addition to those two roles, we have openings for senior and lead managerial experience or potential. And there we have places both in tech, art, and project management side. And then in addition to that, I'd like to mention that if the positions that we have open now don't really aren't as interesting to you now, we have tons of new positions opening during next fall, because our mobile team especially is growing steadily. So keep an eye out. And I'd also like to mention that, like I said, we have 19 different nationalities, and about 30% of our crew currently is expats. So we offer relocation help in every single case where we have someone who we're hiring from outside of Finland. So that's a really important part of our process. Yeah, thanks. If you'd like to follow us on the socials, you can find the links here. And yeah, looking forward to your questions.
Okay. Thank you, Tuuli. And then next up, we have Rob from Yousician.
Yeah. So I introduced myself. So I am focused on talent acquisition over at Yousician. So it's worthwhile to note that, of course, we're actively hiring, and that's why we're here. We're at about 100 people right now, and of those 100 people, we do have 10 Russians already within the company. So we're really trying to build up that presence. We've had a lot of really successful folks come from Russia, one of which is currently our head of growth. So yeah, I'm really excited to get out to St. Petersburg and talk to more of you guys out that way. But yeah, I'll cover a bit on Yousician. So. Yeah, so these are the things that I am going to cover today. So company, tech stack, development culture. So this will be a little bit leaning technical. That being said, we are hiring across a number of different areas. So it's not just tech. We're a subscription B2C model. So there's a lot that goes into that. A lot of product related people, data scientists, designers, of course, developers, project managers, growth analysts, a number of different areas. So it's not just that, but we will lean towards tech today. Yeah, so just a bit more on Yousician and how we were founded and where we started. So it really started in Tampere, up in central Finland. Our two co-founders had been working on a number of sort of failed entrepreneurial ventures, and they decided that there was one area that they just could not make work in their lives extremely well, and that was playing a musical instrument. They felt like there was nothing really great, and at the time they were like, why can't there be something similar to Duolingo but for playing a musical instrument? So they looked at this area and they did more research, and they realized that big problem with musicality is that people that start to play, 85% of those folks end up quitting. So our focus is really on making learning a musical instrument fun and engaging, and we've added sort of a gamification flavor to it that really like ties people into it. Yeah, and so just the overall mission to us is making musicality as common as literacy. We come from the belief that everyone has musical skills. I beg to differ. I'm not like, I'm probably the worst musician in the company, but even I could maybe pull something together. But no, for the most part, we really do believe that people have the skills to do it, and we just want to be there to support through that and being able to give something that's, once again, engaging and easy to learn with. Yeah, so looking at Finland, it surprises people, but the Finnish market is actually amazing for a number of reasons. And I think it gets oftentimes ignored. Being here, and I've been with the company, full disclosure, I've been with the company for about 8 months, and I've been in Finland for about 8 months. But full disclosure, here there's a lot of amazing companies. So these are some of the, I think, reasons why we've been successful is being based out of Finland. So looking at like the game section, we just talked about RedLynx. There's a number of other amazing gaming companies out here. RedLynx, Supercell, Rovio, the list goes on. There's a massive list of gaming companies that you can pull from. So of course the gamification flavor is important. Music, I mean, there's an amazing music history here. If you're looking at like Sibelius Academy, which feeds into like education, and then audio technology. We got really lucky with Nokia starting out here. So we have a ton of really brilliant audio engineers that are out here, which helps us tremendously when you're looking at our core product. So tie that all together, and I think it really puts us in good shape and is the reason why Yousician's really been able to flourish specifically out of Finland. Yeah, and then where are we at currently? So just a brief background with some data in here. So 2010 is when the company was originally founded under the name Ovalin. In 2014, we actually switched to and rebranded to Yousician. The focus at that point was making it much more on music education and turning down the gamification a tiny bit. But as far as like financially where we're at and just the amount of growth that's taken place. So from 2010 to now, we've introduced a number of new instruments. So we're up to 5 instruments. So ukulele, bass, piano, guitar, and voice. The amount of users has grown like crazy amounts. So we're up to 15 million total users. And then as far as how we've been able to be successful, people always ask us where we got the money from. So we did raise 1 round back in 2012. That was 1.4 million from True Ventures, but since then we've been completely bootstrapped. And we've actually been able to, from 2012 to 2014, we became profitable in 2014. And then from 2014 to 2017, we've multiplied revenue by over 5 times. So we are really self-sufficient at this point, and it's allowed our company to grow really well. And of course, we have money to hire amazing talent like potentially you guys. Yeah, so this goes more into just how we actually work at Yousician. So like I said, we're up to like 100 people, but looking specifically at like the different areas and within those areas, what that looks like. So we break up into 5 areas, which would be services is our engineering and reliability of the product. Product are the core features. So an example of a product squad would be like voice. So you can now teach yourself how to sing. That's a specific product squad. And then we have growth, which is money out, money in. So money out would be for user acquisition. Money in would be for revenue. And there's company functions, which is legal and finance. And then there's also myself and some others, which are on the recruiting function. But looking specifically at squads, we really believe in these small, efficient, empowered teams. So on each squad, there's actually a product manager, a data scientists, developers, designers, project managers, QA specialists. So these are really very self-reliant teams that are able to take major ownership, and basically they're their own little company within our company. So there's 5 squads right now, and we're working on some really exciting new stuff. Voice is, of course, one of the really cool new squads that we've put together. Video is a feature that we're currently working on, so you can now actually record yourself and share with family and friends over social media. So these are just some examples of squads, but the point is that there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of things that we're doing, and there's specifically you could take ownership there. Yeah, so this goes more into the team structure like we talked about. This gives you a better sense of just where people do sit. We talked probably enough about this in the last slide, so you probably don't have to go too in depth here. Yeah, so more into the tech stack. So this is technical. I apologize for anyone that's not an engineer as technical, but this is still relatively interesting. And I have to figure this stuff out, and I'm not technical, so if you're not either, we're in the same boat. So, yep. Yeah, so looking at the tech stack, on the application layer, we are using Unity. So for anyone that's a C# developer or has a strong Unity background, we're really interested specifically in your skill sets. So Unity there, and then just looking at like the actual platforms. So we're on iOS, Android, OS X, Windows, and technically we just killed Linux actually, so the slide needs to be updated. But Linux was there. The engineers were the only ones that actually used it, but that's why we eventually killed it. But cool nonetheless. As far as on the UI side, so we're always trying to do the latest and greatest with JavaScript. So we're currently using Angular, but we're probably going to move into React at some point very soon. And then audio engineering. So by far the coolest thing that we do with our product. So if you have a really strong core engineering background or have a background in signal processing, what we're doing to me is like absolutely world class. We're the #1 music educator in the world, so people are going to be using our native engine, and you would be working directly on that audio engine, which has the ability to listen directly to you play instruments, and it's able to record and match the notes based off of the notes that you are playing. So really some cool stuff that we're doing on the R&D side right now. Another example that I could give on that side. So we've actually put together a YouTube transcriber. So you can pull a song directly from YouTube, put it into Yousician, and the song will instantly be gamified. So that it actually has like the bouncing ball and it matches to the notes based off how you're playing. So really some heady technical stuff that they're working on. So if you're into that, that would be a very good thing. On the back end, so Python, Flask, MongoDB is what we're using. And yeah, I mean, always looking for really strong Python engineers. But I would say the core engineering and audio engineering especially, that is a tough one to find. So please, if you have all of these skills, please write me directly. I'm very excited to talk to you. So, yeah. Yeah, just more information on the dev culture. Yeah, so looking at it, Yousician's very data-driven in the way that we do things. We pride ourselves, I would say, on being pretty experimental. With saying that, like, we're not just going to like do completely random, like negligible stuff. We do measure everything that we do. One example of something that's pretty creative and hacky that we put together, and this is based off of peer research and numbers, is we were looking at how much it cost us per user, and our user acquisition channels are probably not very uncommon to you guys. So we would be using YouTube very heavily. We use Facebook very heavily. And we found that the cost per user was actually probably higher than us just buying somebody a guitar. So we came up with a free guitars campaign where when you would log into the application, you could just click directly on, I want a free guitar. And then we would actually mail you a free guitar. And of course you would have to sign up for a subscription model for the year. But this was really successful for us. And this is another way that we kind of get creative in how we do things, but we're also of course measuring everything. So yeah, this talks more. Finland, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Finland consumes the most cups of coffee in the entire world per person. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So coffee consumption is big in general here, but of course we have to apparently measure it. I haven't seen the data for this. If I find it, I'll send it to you guys. But apparently we do. This is on the slide there. And we experiment like crazy. A lot of A/B testing, maybe too much, but a ton of A/B testing for sure. Yeah, and so I mean, in sum, I think that there's amazing opportunities at Yousician. And I at the end of the day, like the most exciting thing about anyone's job should be that like our mission's amazing and we're making musicality as commons literacy. We talk to people on a regular basis that are super excited about what we're doing. I have people coming up to me saying, "Oh man, I got my kid Yousician. He's already better than me at guitar, and I need to actually figure out how to pick up the guitar and play a little bit better." But outside of that, like we of course want to make Yousician as amazing a place as possible. As we're all there, like every single day. So Finland, I talked about a lot of the positives. One of the negatives that we do have going for us is probably very similar to Russia's negatives, but November is a really bitter, cold, dark month to be in Helsinki. So we came up with a solution to that. So we do have a month in the sun. This actually started out of the idea that we were switching offices and we didn't have a place to go to. And we're like, well, should we rent out some kind of crappy office in Helsinki, or should we like maybe go to Greece? So we started off and we went to Greece and people loved it. And so we've been adding to it every single year. So last year we went to Bali. This year we're going to Curacao, which I knew absolutely nothing about 3 weeks ago, but now I know much more on it. Still very limited, but yeah, we go there for up to a month. The company pays a large portion of that as well. And it's really a good experience to just, especially as we grow, to meet people within the company, to build really good bonds. We also bring in subject matter experts. So we brought in like Casey Winters, for example, which he runs a really amazing blog on SEO and growth. And we're constantly trying to bring in subject matter experts and specialists in the space to talk to us. In addition to, of course, having like this amazing time to relax and hang out at the beach. And we do work, but a lot of it is relaxing and hanging out at the beach as well. So yeah, something fun that we do.
Are we invited for your next trip?
You guys are invited because you put this together.
Thanks.
Yes. Yeah, and just careers as a whole, you can of course find those. I referenced some of the positions that we hire for, but job openings as a whole, you can get a sense of that by going to yousician.com/careers.
Yeah. Thank you for the presentation.
Yep.
Next up we have Red Stage. I guess a lot of you didn't even you weren't aware that Red Stage will be joining us in St. Pete, and I'd like to give Sahin a big thanks. He didn't even know about this webinar before, like, when was it? Like 24 hours ago?
Yeah, less than 24 hours or something, but yeah. I'm gonna win something.
Yeah, but he's still here, so thank you for being here. And
yeah, thank you for inviting me. Is the stage mine?
Yeah, it's yours. Go ahead.
Okay, so can you see me and can you hear me well, hopefully? I'm Sahin Zengits from Red Stage Entertainment, and we might have a bit smaller numbers than the previous companies here, but we are up and rising stars in the gaming community. So we are operating from Tampere, Finland, in Mediapolis, which is a huge network of media companies here in Tampere. And we've been around for a year as a gaming company now. We've worked a lot on film and television and animation before this, but we started working on video games for the love of video games and also storytelling, because we truly believe that video games are the best way of telling stories. And we started kind of juggling around ideas of what we're gonna do and what our first own game project is, because we did do and have been doing many mobile story-driven mobile pilots and demos and different kind of projects, but we have our own project called Skaapma Polar Night, which is the first video game ever about the indigenous Sami people, who are the northernmost European northernmost indigenous people in the European Union, and this started because our chairman of the board and with me the second biggest shareholder in the company is a Sami herself, and we really wanted to start making a game about a culture and folk tales that no one has ever told about. And I don't have a really hefty presentation here, but I'm gonna, if I can get the screen sharing. Does it work now? Is it sharing my screen?
Yeah.
So here's our website. You can go check out. It's redstage.fi. You can go check out our trailer. I'm not gonna play it now because it seemed that the other video was kind of choppy, so it's better to just watch it on your computer. Here's a list of some kind of projects we've done already, and it's not full because we're at the moment working on the website a lot, but Skapma Polar Night is the biggest project we're working on now, which has gained some funding at the moment and hopefully will get us on the map. And we have been working with a team of 15 people at the moment. Just quickly going through, there are people here, and I'm just gonna, because not gonna show a video, I'm just showing a couple of screenshots from the game. So it's an adventure game, third perspective, and the gameplay mechanics are focusing mainly on this shamanistic drum that the Sami people used and are still using. So everything from puzzles and combat are kind of done through drumming, and it's not a rhythm game, but there are rhythmic elements in it. And we are kind of harnessing the beauty of nature and Nordic landscapes into a mid-poly experience, let's say it like this. Okay, it's now my webcam again. So we are, at the moment, we've made the first pilot for the game. We mainly have been working on concretely making this game since the beginning of this year, so not that long, but we finished our first pilot. It has gone through some major publishers. We have gotten great feedback, but there's of course still a lot to do. And we are looking for Unity programmers and senior and junior, and animators and sound designers, especially with experience with WUIs. So we are a young company, but we are full of ambition and we still have fun while working. I don't know if that's gonna end at some point, but we are really hoping that you would also we are looking for people who fit into the culture of our company, which is, of course, we want you to be a professional and know what you're doing, but actually more important to us is just the feel of you, how you fit into the group and what can you bring to our work culture here. We already have a Russian musician, and one of our animators is 1/4 Russian, so more Russians, welcome aboard. That's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sahin. Great presentation. Critical Force couldn't join us today, so but they sent you their best. Oleg is gonna play the part of Critical Force, where you have your questions that you sent in advance. We're at the moment located in Helsinki at Microsoft Flux. We have about an hour before we get kicked out, so let's spend that hour answering any potential questions you have.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've heard quite a lot when talking to our candidates is that is cover letter so necessary nowadays? In Russia, cover letter is something you often don't write at all. So, and there's also one question here, how do you see it? How do you find the need for cover letters together with the CV?
Tuuli, do you want to start?
Well, for us, we really do appreciate the cover letter because it usually gives us more in-depth information. So, for example, if you write in your CV about certain experience, but you can't fit like the whole explanation of what cool things you did there, it's good to maybe sort of open some of that stuff up in the cover letter. And yeah, I think it sort of depends on the position as well, but we really do value, at least at RedLynx, we do value the cover letters. And one other thing that we really like are portfolios, even though you would be applying for a tech role even, if you've done some game projects on your own, make a portfolio out of it. Send us a link to a website where you have, for example, some explanations and examples of projects that you've done, for example, in your own time or something. So that's something that we really value, not just, for example, in art positions, but also in tech as well.
Okay, Rob?
Yeah, I can honestly say for Yousician, the way that we look at it is I first and foremost want to see your resume and what's in your resume. And if I'm specifically looking to see if the points in the resume are matching directly to the job description. If they do not match the job description, I will not even read the cover letter. And the reason being isn't because I'm an insensitive jerk. Maybe I am, but the reason being is that cover letters have a really good way of, I think, biasing you to an extent. I get a lot of like, oh, I love musician. I'm a huge musician. It's my dream job, and I like sincerely appreciate that. But like when you read that, you instantly like want to push this person along, but it really needs to be based off of merit, and it can't be based off of something that you put into a cover letter. I completely agree with Tuuli that like if you have some sort of portfolio, if you have GitHub, if you have anything like that that gives us more context, that's what I want to see. I don't want to see some, love letter that you wrote us. I want to see what you've actually done. So that's my stance, and I think that's most of the musicians' stance there.
And also to clarify, for example, and our recruiter as well, first of all, we do see the CV and the resume first.
Yeah.
And then after, if it does match up with what we're looking for, then we go more in depth into the application itself and the portfolio and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And we would follow somewhere.
Yes.
Cool. Oleg?
So from the critical force side, so I'm going to be reading what we have received from Levi, who couldn't join. But there's the comments come along. So we want to see the reasons for wanting to apply to our company specifically. That's what the critical force has sent in. And also some comments from Levi that honesty will always win the buzzwords. Basically, personally, I want to get a sense of person applying for the position specifically.
Yeah, makes sense. Sahin, did you hear the question okay?
Sorry, was there a new question now, or was it still?
No, it's the same. It's the same question. We just the answers were so long that. But yeah, go ahead. So it's the first question.
Yeah. About the cover letter, like of course I'd value it. I the same as a portfolio or CV anyway. Like you can pretty much send whatever. I of course like in the first thing you send, the first thing I see about you or read about you, I wanted to show a bit personality. Sure, a cover letter can easily do that, but at that point, I'm still mainly looking for like in a completely technical sense. I'm looking for a programmer who knows C# or something like this. This is what I want to see there. Okay, you know this, and then in an interview on Skype or in person, that's when everything else important comes. Like I'd probably just read, if I'm looking for just a C# Unity programmer, I'd just read, okay, you are that. I'd like to talk with you. It could easily go like this, but I don't think cover letter is mandatory in any way.
Okay, thanks.
How about the length of the CV?
1 page.
1 page.
Yes. please keep it to a minimum. It's the thing is that in some cases we might get applications to a position, like tons of them. So we might have like 100 applications for one job, and we sort of need to see. There is a time limit, of course. We want people to get interviewed quickly, and we want to find out the best candidates quickly. So please keep the CV in a format that's easily readable. You can find things easily, so it's not like all jumbled up and like 10 different colors and and stuff like that. So yeah, I really like one-page CVs, maximum 2.
Yeah, I would say for us, it's I agree. It should be relatively short. My big thing is like, okay, if you have 2 pages, you better warrant 2 pages. Like, don't put 2 pages just to fill out a bunch of information. Like, and something that will drive me crazy is if you have repeat lines. So like you have, let's say you have 2 different jobs and you put the same stuff at each job and you literally copy and paste it. Like, that's gonna kill me. So definitely, like, do not do that. Keep it to, short and sweet. And if it warrants a page and a half, I can live with it. If it doesn't, don't do it.
Okay, Sahin.
Yeah, I'd really say 1 page, 2 page maximum, but it's like a CV, it just shouldn't be. There's no need to make it too long. Just choose what's the best things you've done, put it on 1 page and like that. Although, of course, at this point, like I've been in other projects where I've had to go through hundreds of CVs and so on. That's a different thing. At the moment, like, okay, if someone sent me a 17-page CV, I'd probably read through it, but it's not the not the best way to do it. So 1 page.
Yeah, so short and sweet. Did Critical Force have Lady?
Yeah, so Leily's comments were more that the CV is like an attempt to should reflect the interest towards a certain position. So that is considered to be an attempt to really get the job. CV should always be tailored to, like I said, to the particular position, include relevant work experience, and maximum like 10 years of the last experience, not longer than that. Yeah, and that if the person can really fit this into 1 or 2 pages, that already reflects his interest into kind of, that's the effort that the person has done to get the job.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, then we also got a question, what are the important things that can catch attention of an HR?
Okay.
Is there any like certain thing?
Stuff that's in the job description.
Yeah.
It's in the job description we want.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, same here. If it's not a fit to the actual job that we're posting, then there's not really a chance to get interest from us. So
Yeah. Sahin, over to you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do the same as above here because
Okay.
not much else to say.
Okay.
We can move forward. It's the same here.
Yeah. So better keep that in mind. People are pretty consistent with that one.
Yeah. And which skills or my personal qualities should I highlight in order to stand out among other candidates with equal skill sets?
I guess this comes back to the job description.
Yeah.
So if, let's say you're applying for, I don't know, a 3D artist job and you've, I don't know, let's say worked in retail before, maybe not highlight the retail stuff there. So it comes back to the job description and customizing the CV and the whole application according to the position that you're applying to.
Yeah, I mean, that one is a tougher one. So if people are of equal skill set and let's say they're both really qualified for the position, I don't think there's much that you could do on a piece of paper that's going to like really whittle it down. I think at that point it becomes more like actually talking to these people, putting them through tests. That's really the next step at that point. One thing I would say is like, if it's really close and like we're able to catch maybe grammar errors or communication errors, that would at least make us think about it, but also I wouldn't obsess over it either. So yeah, I would say at that point it comes down to the other stuff to fill out the rest of the profile.
Nothing from Lily.
Okay. Sahin, want to comment?
Yeah, well, for your skill set, of course, it's the whatever the job description is. Like, I don't know what to say, like what to highlight, but if you can on your like personality traits, like if you can show humor, I will I will really value that. If somehow you can put humor into a CV and make me chuckle, you have a lot of extra points.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Then Rob already showed us the slide about your team composition, but how about RedLynx and Red Stage and also Critical Force? What kind of team composition you have?
Yeah, so we're currently working on multiple different projects, both on the console and the mobile side. So and some people are moving in between projects, so they might be working on 2 or even 3 projects at the same time. But we of course, there are the project teams, but inside there's a lot of different smaller teams. We're also starting to sort of explore feature team. So feature team building, so it's kind of that we form very flexible teams that are just meant to do like one feature and sort of develop that further. And yeah, so we're very flexible, and the smaller teams as well like are a really big thing for us, because we see that it gives people a little bit more voice. And also in the feature teams, the thing is that people have to work with many different kinds of people. So you might have an artist, you might have a game designer, you might have a couple of programmers in the team. So it's really important for us to, for example, on the tech side, to find people who are able to work with not necessarily just programmers. So the feature teams enable us to sort of work cross discipline there as well.
Mm-hmm. Sahin?
Yeah, we have a pretty tight-knit community, like our team, because we're working really close together, and we're not talking about hundreds of people. 15 people can easily work in one room, and we just have the system of from one, like animators are kind of close together and so on, and I tend to run around between all the different people there, but it's like we have a really open system, let's say it like this. There's not like huge, I'm not sitting on a pedestal somewhere else. I'm just there with everyone else and so on.
Okay. And did Critical Force have any?
Yeah, I think that what comes to this team composition from Lele, it's more whether you decide to go to the expert level and go deeper, or rather the lead, but both either the expert side or the lead side. Depends on where you want to go. So it's like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we got one question directed to you, Rob. Could you give some examples of typical tasks of a data scientist in your company?
Yeah, so I think the best way to attack that question. So if you look at our business model, so it's a subscription-based B2C model. So for us, it's looking at all different stages of the funnel. So one really good example would be looking at like, as far as like attracting users. So just to get them even into the funnel to start with. So one of our data scientists is specifically looking at like regression analysis and trying to do like mobile attribution models to try and figure out like if they're not landing in, let's say the YouTube or Facebook or Guitar Tuna bucket, maybe they're landing somewhere else. So that's an example of the skills that they're actually utilizing to do that. Of course, they do need to have really strong SQL skills, really strong analytical and quant skills as a whole. Everyone on our data science team has either Python or R skills. And everyone has really strong like visualization skills as far as like of course, visually like sharing this data, but then also they have the communication skills to talk through that as well.
And then also one question, which specialists are more in demand, narrowly focused or multidisciplinary? That's for all of you.
Depends on the position, I guess. So I'd say, yeah, it depends on the position. So both.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically, even though we're, as RedLynx, we're a bigger company in the Finnish sphere, in terms of globally and Ubisoft-wise, we're a smaller studio. So that means that a lot of our crew members have to sort of, they have to be in some ways multidiscipline, because they do have to work quite flexibly with different types of people, and it's really good to understand. For example, if you're an artist, it's really good to understand what kind of tools are the programmers working with. So there's kind of like a similar language there, maybe in some way. So in terms of that, it's good to know about things, but if you're too multidisciplinary, so you know a lot of things, but you don't know any of them well, then that's not a good thing either.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a different track on answering this one. I think if I personally were like to go back to school when I was like amazingly technical and had all these amazing skills, I think the ones that are most in demand, where there's a long career path ahead of you, is like data science for sure. Like, I mean, if you have like really strong data skills, and then you also have like, let's say, machine learning experience, so you have the programming and like the analytical skills, like, you're pretty set. You're in a really good position. So I suppose that could be more specific to an extent. But then, of course, having the machine learning is relatively like, that's a broad, strong engineering algorithmic background. So I would look at that as being like a really specific, great area to look at. I would look at design, of course, if you're a really strong designer, which that's relatively specific, as being a really good area to look at. But then when you talk about multidisciplinary, like, I mean, there's of course a demand for like really good Unity developers, but there's also like a huge demand for like these full stack language agnostic people as well, because they can fit into any position. So I mean, having that kind of flexibility in the long run that's a really huge thing to any company, and it gives you a lot of visibility across different spaces. And then the last example of something I would say that, you know, it's funny because like, I think that this position was maybe frowned upon in years past, but like nowadays, I think it's one of the hardest ones to fill, is these DevOps positions. Before it was like, okay, you have all of these skills and you kind of sit there and you just like see if anything screws up, you have to wake up in the middle of the night. But now these SREs, they have all sorts of technical skills and programming skills, and they're the glue to a lot of companies. And you can say that that's a multidisciplinary position, but it's also super high demand because you have this broad knowledge base. So it's a tough question to answer, but there's different angles to go at it, I think.
Okay, thanks. Sahin, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, well, I think it's great if someone is really flexible and can be the jack of every trade, but I think that's a bit, I'd say like it's of course more important that you do the one thing well than do everything okay. I'm more into the idea of learning the common language. That's an important thing. Like, you don't have to be a master of anything, but if an animator is working with a programmer for reason X, you better have the same language to talk about. So that kind of like multi-skill set is good to have.
Okay, thanks.
And then also there's a person asking if the Finnish game studios are looking for narrative designers or story writers. Do you have any of those skills used in your companies?
Well, currently at RedLynx, unfortunately, we don't. But not to say that we wouldn't have it in the future. Most of our games are not really, let's say, story-driven currently. So currently no, but it might change in the future.
Yeah, Sahin.
Sahin.
Yeah, I guess you're doing story-driven stuff. Do you have any?
Yeah, very story-driven, but we are not actually hiring anyone to write. We have our own people for that, and actually, I think like if you are interested in this, getting the CV to us, we didn't write this as something we're looking for, but I don't think it would mind us at all, because like we're constantly getting different like smaller projects and so on. So there's the possibility of like, okay, actually now we would need someone because everyone else is busy with something else. So of course, send your stuff.
Yeah, and I guess Rob, you don't really do story-driven musical
Yeah,
education kind of stuff, so
not particularly. And this is just a good spot to add, like, I referenced when we switched to Yousician that we're leaning much more on the music education side. We do use Unity, which I understand that can confuse people, but we're not creating like similar games to like how these guys are creating games. It's a gamification flavor, so it's important to note that. But we're definitely not doing anything with that type of direction.
Even though I'd say that like not maybe in this group, we're not maybe in this group looking for narrative designers, but I'm sure that there are other companies in Finland who are just focused on story-based games and are in search of designers for that reason as well. So definitely don't like shut your ears if we don't work. So yeah, so keep in mind that there are lots of other companies as well. This is just a very small group.
yeah. And if you actually registered to the event, that means that you've seen the application form. And you might have noticed that on the application form, you can apply for like Finnish game day open position. Like that's the kind of way that if there's profiles there that these companies aren't exactly looking for, you can still send in your resume, and everyone here will see them. But we could maybe help you find another company that might be interested in your skill set.
That's true. And then also one question, do you have positions for graduate or people with little experience? And how about the relocation? Can you work remotely?
Yeah, so for now, we don't really have junior positions open, but at Ubisoft, we have something called the Ubisoft Graduate Program, which is specifically meant for people who are just about to graduate or have graduated not too long ago and have less than 1 year of professional experience from their own field of expertise. And in the graduate program, we've had 3 different tracks. So there's project management, then there's programming, there's both online and gameplay tracks there. And then as the newest track that we've added last year was UX design. So that's definitely something if you're interested in entry-level positions, it's a really exciting opportunity. We've been rolling the Ubisoft Graduate Program now for 5 years at RedLynx, and we've had really, really good experiences from it. And a few of our first-year graduates are actually soon going to relocate to other Ubisoft studios for the 2nd year of the program. So it's an international, really, really, really exciting program. So definitely recommend that. And the application period for it starts usually in the beginning of the year. So stay tuned to any Ubisoft sites or RedLynx sites in the beginning of the year if you're interested in that.
Yeah. What about Yousician? Do you have a lot of junior positions?
This hurts me a bit to answer because I think it is really valuable, and you're already seeing just the impact that it can have on a company. We don't have any internship programs. We don't really hire junior positions. The reason that I have for you today is that with the size of our company, we don't feel like we can support these people enough. And it is very time consuming. So we don't. I think we should do it at a certain point, and we will do it at a certain point.
Yeah. And Sahin, I think you already mentioned that you are also interested in juniors.
Yeah. Yes, I think it could be possible, like working remotely. Internship would be possible with us, and we are looking for juniors and seniors. So I think, like, of course, I would prefer people to work here with us, but it's possible. So I'm just still repeating that. Just send your CVs and so on. If you especially if you are a programmer with Unity skills, even if you have just graduated.
Okay, thanks. I think I'm gonna throw the ball to Mia a bit because Mia knows a bit about these work visa requirements.
Yes.
So there's also that to take into consideration, but maybe you could tell a bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. In order to get the specialist work permit, there is a certain salary cap, and that is often why Finnish companies do not look so junior employees from abroad. And of course, yeah, there are ways to get into the country without the speeded specialist work permit, but that of course takes more time.
And what I can say, I'm actually handling the relocations at RedLynx. And what I can say from experience and from the feedback that I've received from a lot of our expats is that the Finnish relocation, sort of the process here is quite straightforward. And a lot of the gaming companies do offer relocation help, ourselves included. So yeah, the process is quite straightforward, and most gaming companies will help you with the applications and all of the things that you need to do in order to be able to work here legally. But yeah, the system is much better than what I've heard from other countries. so yeah.
Yeah, and just to put some numbers to it. So, I mean, I also did this like in the past 8 months, but it took me about 4 weeks. We're seeing Russia as being one of the slower countries, but it's still about 6 weeks, what we've seen recently, to go through. And I would agree, definitely, to get a specialist permit, which is what most people will be coming in as, there is a monthly salary cap that you need to hit, which therein lies kind of the issue if you're trying to hire somebody very junior.
Yeah.
And actually, with the specialist permits, if you are applying for a specialist permit, you can actually arrive in the country before you have the permit. You can apply for the permit once you're actually here. So that makes it a lot easier and faster for us to get international hires into the country as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Then there has been one question about the mentorship programs. You already mentioned that you have, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But do you also offer mentorship for kind of like regular employees becoming lead or seniors?
Unfortunately, currently no, but we're looking into the possibility. And of course, like our onboarding process is something that we're working on currently. We do have quite a lot of things involved in the onboarding process already, but adding mentors and sort of like these buddy characters into the onboarding would be something that we would really want to do in the future as well.
Yeah, so I mean, each person that joins Yousician has a mentor, and then they have a manager. It's typically how it's set up. So you do have that. I would, however, say that like every company probably has room for improvement here, and I think we definitely do to an extent. I mean, moving forward, we've laid out, of course, like salary bands and different levels within the company. But those levels are, of course, attached to skill sets as well. But I think that there's more that we can do as far as like enabling people to get to that next step and giving them more support. It's not enough just to have the different levels. We need to continue to support them in that area to actually reach those levels. So yeah, but there is mentorship. There is small teams and large teams that help to support. So
Yeah. Sahin, you're a bit smaller team than these guys here. What about you? Like, how do you mentor new people that come into your company?
Yeah, well, maybe it's not like we can't really talk about them, some kind of program for it. It's we don't really have any specific kind of thing. Like a smaller team probably never would have like that kind of a bigger company would have. But of course, like when someone starts working here, like we just want to show the ropes overall and how things go around here, and that's about it. But it's just like normal human interactions and no loops to jump through and so on. It's nothing, no specific program.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. How about the professional development in the companies? This kind of goes back to the previous question about mentors and so on, but how do you guarantee that the person you are hiring gets some career growth and gets to develop him or herself in the company?
Yeah, so as one of the things that we offer to every employee is at least 3 days of training per year. So that can be anything from if the person themselves finds a really interesting course they want to attend to, they can do that. Game jams are pretty much everything between that. And then in addition to that, we do have a performance management process that's actually, we've just renewed it at Ubisoft as well. So that's like a continuous process over the whole course of someone's life cycle at RedLynx. And what's been a really important part of our managers' sort of constant role in each of the team members' lives is regular one-on-ones. So usually our managers have one-on-ones monthly with all of their team members, in which there are sort of like checkpoints, like how are things going, and also we talk about career growth there as well. And since we're part of Ubisoft, we have an amazing opportunity to go for international transfers. So we have an international mobility program to which you can apply to if you want to, for example, go on a mission to another Ubisoft studio somewhere. So that's been a really, really amazing opportunity for people to go somewhere else to get like experience from a whole other project, maybe that's in a very different stage than the project that they've been previously working on somewhere else. And and then after the mission is over, they come back to RedLynx and sort of spread that information that they received at another studio at RedLynx. So it's been a really, really awesome way to sort of transfer the knowledge. And we also collaborate a lot with other Ubisoft studios. So there's a lot of interaction and knowledge transfer between the different studios as well.
Yeah, so I can just note 4 things quickly. So I think one of the things that we do, which I'd like to see a little bit more structure around, is if you do want to go to an event or if you're interested in anything specific, you pretty much just have to ask. As long as it's related to your profession, you can 100% go. So that's something that we do. Examples of that would be, we did have some UX folks go out to Dublin. We have some folks going to Stockholm next week for some growth-related measures. So they're going to be out that way. So definitely, there's a lot of support as far as things that you want to get into. We use LinkedIn Learning, and we have support there. So that's really learn at your own pace, pretty much. But you have access to that, and of course, you can learn through that. This year, we focused a lot on just L&D as a whole. So we have what we call Yousician University. So we have people from within the company that focus specifically in different areas. So one of the classes that I took was on like data science. Another class was on Scrum. And so you have people within the company actually teaching these classes. Some of them are 1-week cycles. Some of them are 3 to 4 week cycles. Some of them are even longer. There's also some really like fun random stuff too. So like there was a music theory, which isn't random, but there was also like, I think they did like some sort of DJing course as well. So there's a bit, I don't know if we count that as professional development. Depends on where you come in on this. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something that's accessible for us. And then I think the last thing I would note is we aren't quite as multinational as Ubisoft is, but we do have two locations, so New York and then also in Helsinki. And there is the ability to move back and forth to an extent there and to travel. And then of course we do Waieda, where we travel a month a year. But more importantly, like within the company, there's a lot of mobility opportunities. So it's very common that we see people switch to different roles to continue to increase their skills. So make a more horizontal change. Two examples of that: developer was getting kind of bored doing the same stuff, working on the same fixes, but he had really strong design skills. So he's now focusing on UI design for us. We had another guy that was really interested in how the company worked as a machine, and the different areas, the triggers and levers that he needed to pull on. He's now a project manager that's focused on being a Scrum Master. So just some different angles and different ways that we look at it, but development's always huge for us.
And also I could mention from the tech side, Ubisoft has their own huge training sessions all throughout the year for different disciplines. And one of the biggest training initiatives that Ubisoft has for programmers especially is the Ubisoft Developers Conference. It's held yearly in the beginning of the year, usually in Montreal. So pretty much a lot of the programmers from all different studios go there. They have different seminars, talks, all kinds of stuff there. So that's one of the biggest initiatives that Ubisoft has had for a long time.
Okay, what about our man in Tampere? Do you have anything to add?
Well, of course, we're not moving people outside of Finnish borders at all. We're mainly, sometimes we walk around the nearby lake, but I think we can't really at this point have different programs or possibilities of going to another studio or different country at the moment. But these are issues we talk about a lot, like at least once a week, like that people feel like they are going forward in their career overall, not just here with us. I think it's really important for people to feel like their skill sets are increasing, and that if some work is kind of not something that someone has done a lot, or it's if something starts to get a bit I'm trying to get words out, but I mean, if you get dull with what you're doing at the moment, we try to switch it up and so on. And also most of our people kind of we've been working on 2 projects or 3 projects at the same time, and this is sometimes we have our own big project and the smaller projects, and this is something where I think everyone is kind of learning a lot and finding new things to do, because we have lots of things to do, so they can jump around. But yeah, maybe my main point, the answer for this, is that it's really we talk about it a lot. We want to make sure everyone is going forward and everyone is feeling good about what's happening at the moment here. So maybe some years from now we can send people to USA or something, to our new studio.
I think Critical Force touched this subject.
Yeah. So they answered that they actually have every employee has a personal development budget that is used for conferences and lectures or courses.
Yeah. Something worth mentioning also, Critical Force is actually located at 2 different locations. So it's in Kajaani here in Finland, and also in Seoul, South Korea. So they have this opportunity of moving around. So if you want a change of environment, that's something that they do.
Then let's move on. There's been a question about the language skills. If you don't have excellent English, is it worth applying?
Well, if you have English that's understandable and you can work with it, you don't necessarily have to have native English skills in order to be able to work at RedLynx. But of course, you need to be able to work professionally with the language. So that's like the minimum requirement. And the working language at RedLynx is English. So everyone is required to have like a professional English level so that they can work seamlessly in the company.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar situation for us. So English speaking only office, even though we have like 30 different nationalities, everyone has to speak English. I mean, I would put it down like this. Like, if you struggle with writing, we can live with that. But if you can't like talk to the person next to you and communicate like, oh, there's a bug here, I screwed up, it's not gonna work. So you need to be able to be above conversation. You need to be able to communicate. That's how I would leave it.
Yeah. What about in Tampere?
Yeah, the same. I can't really add anything to that.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like we hope a programmer knows C#. but like you should be able to communicate in English. Like, although we do have the Russian musician who can translate everything, but I think that would be a kind of a pain on the long run.
Yeah. I think me and Mia, we can also vouch for that. So we get a lot of applications that we take to different companies. And one story I can share to you is that we had one company fly over 2 developers from St. Petersburg for like second round interviews. They were very much qualified, and this company was about to hire them. But then actually when they showed up in Finland, they sat at the same table, and this company just decided that the English level wasn't good enough. So they were actually unable to hire them. So I think we can pretty much vouch for most of the companies here in Finland that the English is very, very important.
That is true. How about, do you reply to all the applications you get? There's been some debate whether applicants get an answer from the company or not. And how do you see that?
Yeah, so we do apply to all applications. For open applications, it might take a little longer than if you would be applying to a certain position that's open on our website. So we do reply to everyone.
What about Yousician?
Same thing. So we reply to everyone that writes us. I would even say go as far as if you respond to us and you're like, why did you reject me? I don't like when you guys do it, but I will respond still.
Same here, same here.
So yeah, we reply to
Yeah. What about Red Stage? Do you reply to all of them? Okay. I'd like to add that in Finland it's not uncommon that companies don't reply. So don't take it as an offense if you don't get a reply. It's quite common here, unfortunately. But good to hear that you guys don't leave people hanging that you reply. That's nice.
Yeah, I can also share a story. In my previous working place, one of the first assignment was to reply to all the candidates that applied like half a year ago. So there was a tiny delay in the response, but everybody got their reply from the company.
Yeah. I want to mention we have 15 minutes, so let's. I think we have time for a few more questions.
Yes, let me look. There are plenty of good questions. There are a lot of questions like, do you have this and this position? But I urge you to go to the application page and check what positions there are available, and you can find more detailed information from, for example, that Yousician.com/career and
redlynx.com.
Yeah.
And
same for Critical Force. Yeah, you can find those online. When you go to the application, if as I said before, even if there's not that one position there that you want to apply for, then just leave the Finnish Game Day open application and and all the companies here will also see that. So even if it's not a position that they have available right now, I can tell you that the companies will have access to your resume for 6 months. So that's something that the companies can go back to maybe when they have new positions available.
I think we could use these last minutes to describe your company culture and the final words, how to get the applicants to apply to your positions and to your company.
So,
well, we saw the video, so
yes.
you have a quite good culture there.
So, yeah, the RedLynx company culture, we're really open, and the people who sort of flourish at RedLynx are the ones that sort of drive their own things forward and want to develop in what they do. And yeah, we have a lot of fun. Some dirty jokes as well sometimes, sometimes a lot of them. So yeah, we have lots of different parties and events for everyone. And we actually just moved into new office spaces. We're located in Vallila in Helsinki, so in a very good place. And yeah, I remember because I myself am previously from a very different type of an organization. I used to work in the forestry industry, and I remember my first time when I walked into the RedLynx office. The first person I saw was one of our animators. He's a darling. He was wearing like these broken bicycle shorts and like a t-shirt with a hole in it, and I was I was just like, okay, these guys don't have any kind of a dress code. I love it. I'm at home here. So yeah, it's really open, friendly, and yeah. And one thing that I really like myself, each Friday at 3 o'clock, we have something called Friday Pulla, where the whole studio gathers around in our big cafe area, and we have pastries, coffee, everything like that for everyone. And we usually have some small presentations from the different projects, and yeah, all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What about Yousician? How do you guys have fun? Except, well, you go abroad, but
we leave
anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I think the three things I would reference for culture for us is like, one thing is, yeah, it's very international, but also like an extension of that is, I mean, it's a very, without being too corny, like it's a very courageous kind of experimental type of person, clearly, because we are so international. I think a lot of people have left their respective homes to come and work at Yousician, and because of that, I think people are really, they have a lot of perseverance, and also even more than that, like when you look at how that affects the culture, this is really for a lot of people, it's their home away from home. So a ton of people spend a majority of their time at work playing ping pong, playing board games, jamming, of course. We play sports together on a very regular basis. So there's soccer going every weekend. I've even started attempting to play badminton to get my butt kicked. It's not much of an American sport. I'm trying to get them to play basketball more often. But yeah, I mean, there's really a lot of that goes on. And then, of course, to add the international flavor we talked about, and more of like the experimental type of fun, we talked about just why it is a really big thing for us that we're able to do, which I've already referenced. So I would say that's major. Two, and it's really like you could put it one, is like musicality. We have a full stage. So if you come to the office, there's all the instruments that you could possibly want. People jam daily, pretty much. So if you're into live music, we have musicians around the office. If you're really bad at music like myself, you have a lot of great musicians to learn from. So there's different ways that you can look at it. But I mean, most people are, of course, really driven by musicality and by like our overall mission as a whole. And then I think the last thing that I would really note is just thinking much more about like the overall like community and just like how we are as a group. So really like feeling very connected. Like the overall platform is really based off of music, and like learning music, but also like I didn't reference it too much, but the platform's actually created a lot by our users, and within that they create a lot of the content, and within sort of our own unit, we also are very much so community connected to the space and connected to one another around us. So I think those are the three things that I probably know.
Okay. Sahim, do you have any fun in Tampere or?
No.
No. Do you have a dress code?
Yeah, it's very strict. Actually, like we have a lot of fun. I think like it's not you guys probably have a lot more of the musical people, but we do also have a musical people with us, and we have a keyboard in the office. And I think like something that kind of the definitive moment of our company is this time when the musician Mark Malishev started playing the piano just there, and I joined him, so we like four-handedly played something, just improvised something, and then the chairman of the board came there to sing, and we made this impromptu like musical number of our whole work process since the beginning of the year, and it was fucking amazing. Like we just sometimes have these great moments, and we do really like we walk around the lake and whatnot like together. We have a really close our team is really close, and we have a lot of fun. And like at the moment we have a kind of ongoing thing, because the Sami mythology and the culture is kind of like a sensitive subject, and there's a many things to take into account and think about it. We have to take it really seriously, but at the same time, like we have an ongoing thing about someone trying to come up with some like the most horrible twist for the game at some point to happen that would like take everything into something like something super offensive or something. You know, we joke around a lot. That's the main point. I'd say like we have a really great culture in the company. Like as the kind of already at this point, I think we have the kind of culture I would in the perfect world want a company to have, where I'm leading something.
Okay. I think Critical Force also, how did they describe their?
They described it as open, flat, and very casual. So no dress codes, no ties.
Yeah. The Critical Force guys, they were with us in Kiev, and I can vouch for them. They're nice people. So yeah.
Then we got one final question. I promise I want.
Okay.
How do you help in balancing the work-life balance? Basically, there are people with the small kids, and there are people fearing the crunching and burnout, maybe, and all that. So, do you offer some help there? Do you actually check that people would not leave in the office?
Yeah, so we have flexible working hours at RedLynx, which is basically meant for the fact that we do not crunch. So how it works is that people sort of they can decide within a certain framework when they come to work and when they leave. And of course, like everything needs to be planned in order for the projects to go forward. But for example, a couple of weeks ago, I just asked my manager, like, hey, can I have Friday off? I have some stuff I want to do at home, and I don't really have any meetings then. And she was just like, yeah, sure, why not? And so the flexibility is meant to be a tool for all of our team members to be able to plan out their personal lives as well. So that's really, really important for us. And we're very flexible with holidays as well. In Finland, you usually get around 5 weeks of annual holiday per year. So usually 4 weeks during the summer and then 1 week during the winter. And in addition to that, we do have some days off that are like public holidays all around the year. So that's it's really, really important for us to have everyone in a position that they're not, as you mentioned, living at the office, because it's not good for anyone at that point. So yeah, and we also offer, for example, for parents who have smaller kids, We do offer a nursing service for sick kids as well. So if there is a really critical situation at work and the parent can't stay at home with the sick child, then we do have a nursing service for that the company pays for in full. So the person themselves doesn't need to pay anything for that. So that's been really nice. And there's also a possibility in some cases to do some work remotely. So if there's a situation that someone, for example, lives a little bit more further away and there's something happening in their personal lives, there's always a possibility to sort of organize the work in a way that's like good for everyone. So yeah.
Yeah. What about Rob?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I would note, like, the Finnish government does us a lot of favors to start with. I mean, before you even start like getting into like what the individual companies do. I mean, I can just speak from experience. I don't know how it is in Russia, but like in the States, we were all exempt employees, which what that means is like everyone's like, well, I'm making X amount of money and X amount of money per hour, but it doesn't work like that because you just end up working more and more and more hours. What's amazing to me about Finland is they have this 37.5 hours rule, which we do actually record, and you're not supposed to be working over 37.5 hours. You go over it, it becomes flex time. And with the flex time, you turn that into vacation. So I think that immediately sets just a precedent that like, you know, Finland's about work-life balance and your company should be about that as well. So I'll stop talking about that because everyone should be having that in Finland. What Yousician does specifically, we do have to an extent, we have some core hours here. So it used to be 10 to 3. It has switched from 9 to 5, or excuse me, from 10 to 5 at this point because we have this New York office. However, what we're saying is if meetings are scheduled within those hours, we expect you to be there. If meetings are not scheduled within those hours, then it's very, very flexible as to when you come. We have some people that get in there at 7:30 and they're out by 4. We have some people that get in there at like 10:30 or 11 and they're out there by 7 or 8. Whenever they really feel like rolling off their desk and going home, they go home. So I mean, there is a lot of flexibility as far as that works. I think remote for us, because that's always a question for everyone. I mean, for us, we want people in the office, and Helsinki is a very, very, very small area, so most people don't have a very hard time getting into the office. That being said, we do allow it. We do, of course, give support to families as well, and we help out with things related to that. But that being said, you know, we understand that if their kids are sick and they want to be with their kids, we can respect that, and we do permit remote to an extent. It can't be like an everyday type of thing. That's really not how our company works or has found the best way or the conducive to working successfully.
Yeah, what about Red Stage? Do you have a ball and chain for the employees or like?
Yeah, they haven't left the office in 5 months.
Yeah, they're still there watching you speak.
Yeah, actually, I think like at our place, I'm the one who's most of the time living in the office, but that's a different thing. So far, if someone has needed a day off or a remote day, I haven't not once had to say like, no, you have to come here now. Like no one has either like used this like trying to stay remote, work remotely every day or something like that. People are really open here. And if someone has like any kind of problem, like if you have a personal problem, you don't have to tell me what your personal problem is. But we have, and I hope it works like this. But I have really said that say that you have something like give some kind of explanation why you want a remote day or a day off. And it's fine. And our working hours are really flexible. There's no set time to come into the office, and we are just seeing that you work the hours you're meant to work in a month, and try not to go over it, because then of course like you'll get days off if you work over the set amount of hours. But very similarly what you guys just said.
Yeah, and just to add, like if you have kids like me, like Finland is a great place to live. Free healthcare, the education here is great. You can look up any surveys on where they compare the education around the world. Finland is like always in the top 5. Like great place to raise kids, and that alone is something to consider. Like where you want to raise your kids, like should be an important factor for you when you start building up your career.
One of the things that I'd also mention is that we do have quite a large Russian community, especially, for example, in Helsinki as well. So yeah, there's a lot of people who have been through the same stuff as potentially you guys would. So yeah, that's, I think, a really great resource to pull from as well.
Yeah. We had a knock on the door. We're getting thrown out now, but thanks for the questions. Really great. I'm sorry we didn't have the time to answer all of them, but please register for the event. Go to www.finishgameday.com. Register for the event. So show up at the event, and any questions that weren't answered here, you get to meet these guys, and they can answer your questions directly. But yeah, this was fun. Sahin, do you want to wave goodbye?
Oh, okay. You're throwing me out first. Sure. It was really nice being here. I guess bye then.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, and thanks from all of us here. And we'll see you in St. Pete next month.
Yeah.
See you there.
See you.
Thanks.
Yeah.